Okay, are we all set? Me too. Everybody's recording, including me. There. All right, so for all those recordings, welcome back. We are ACI course 5, class 8 on June 30th, 2024. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you. Smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiating from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning how this will be possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with that intention, turn your mind back to your precious holy guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. And again, listen to the source of all my good. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to them in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow them with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teaching. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, everyone my own mother, has fallen in too. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together. One which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects. The other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I have practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me next to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the holy ones have spoken, putting all my effort in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times, highest that there is. Bless me, grant me, that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things within me and outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. All right. Now, last class, we learned the difference between what's meant by black karma, white karma, and black and white karma, meaning black deeds, white deeds, black and white deeds, not meaning gray. So we learned that black karma, what they mean by black karma, is a non-virtue, a deed of non-virtue done in the desire realm. They say its essence is black because it's collected, meaning the deed is done by a being who is suffering outright. Obvious suffering, suffering of change, pervasive suffering. They have an active suffering happening. They say with a black karma, its result is also black because its result will be unpleasant. So black means black essence, black result only is something that can be made in desire realm. White karma then would be a virtue done in the form realm. Its essence is white because the being does not have any outright suffering. Yes, they have pervasive suffering, but they don't have any active mental afflictions. Not that they are in nirvana, but they don't have this active suffering while they're doing the deed. that has something about what deed they do, of course. Its essence is white, and then its result will be white because the result is going to be pleasurable, because that's what it is to be a virtue deed. I don't know if white karma is actually done by any being in the form realm. It doesn't make sense with what they say happens to beings in the form realm, but if they did do a good deed, it would be a white one. Then black and white karma, we learned, are good deeds done in the desire realm. And why are they called black and white? Because their essence is black, because they're done by a being who has outright suffering. How do I know they have outright suffering? Because they're a being in the desire realm. We all have outright suffering. That's what it is to be projecting me in a desire realm. So even the best, kindest, most amazing things I do have black essence. But their result can be white. They can be white because their result can be pleasure. Now, technically, it's a pleasure that wears out. So that would start a debate. If a pleasure is going to wear out, is it really a white deed that brought a pleasure that wears out, right? And doing such a debate would actually lead us through from lower schools to higher schools. We're not going to do it. So then the other question on your quiz was about those factors that influence a given deed's results. And they're called the 4 parts of a path of action. And you were asked to give the 4 parts and an example using the first of the non-virtues, killing, as an example, as an explanation. So the 4 parts of a path of action is Shi Sampa Jorwa Tartuk, like the mantra, the basis, the thinking, the action, and the completion. So the basis, the Shi basis, is the object, the other, that you're going to do your deed towards. For the act of killing, your other needs to be a living being. So you will have a basis, which will be a living being. Second, influencing factors is your thinking about the situation, whatever it is. The level of your intention or not intention, or, I mean, there are a lot of factors in that thinking. Did I mean to kill them, or did I kill them by accident? Or anywhere in between. Then the third factor is undertaking the deed. So this includes all the different specifics of what you do to go about completing the deed that you're wanting to do towards that object that you've identified. Whether it ends up that it happens by accident, there's still a doing of the deed. And then the last one is the completion of the deed. For the deed we set out to do, it's not a complete karma until we get the result that we thought we were going to get. For killing, it's not complete until we see that the being died. Technically died of what we did. Again, it does not mean you only make a karmic seed if you have all 4 of those factors complete. This teaching says all the different variations in all of those 4 factors are part of the seed planting that's happening in the course of doing that deed. And the extent to which all these other factors are in play affect the way in which that result will be experienced. So it gives us this clue as to how it is that our experiences are so diverse. No, and it really isn't, I give an apple, I will get 50,000 apples back again. Because there are all these other factors that were happening when I gave the apple that will influence what the result's going to be like. Then your quiz asked, and the Sampa, the thinking part, has 3 parts of its own. The correct identification for the act of killing. Did you kill the being you intended to kill? Versus, oops, right? Wrong person. Or oops, it wasn't alive after all. Or oops, right? Some goof. Second, the nyomong, the bad thoughts. Which mental afflictions, 1 or more, were you under the influence of as you set up this deed that you were going to do and as you did it? You know, the mental affliction that we were under is going to be recorded as part of that seed. And it's going to influence the experience of that seed's result, that series of seeds' results. The third one is your actual motivation, the intention. And a seed planted killing somebody that you were violently angry with and wanted to see them hurt and wanted to hurt everybody who knows them, and you set about to kill them and you do, is going to bring us a different result than if, you know, there's that white flies on my plant and I want them off my plant so that it doesn't hurt the plant, and I really don't want to hurt them, but every time I try to get them off my plant, 5 of them go free and 1 of them gets squished. And oh man, right? That's going to be a different kind of killing result that I will get. Clearly different result than the previous one. Right? So motivation doesn't override everything else. It just is included in the results experience, right? What we perceive as the motivation of the other, what we perceive in the experience that we have as the result will include, like if we kill by accident, we're going to get killed by somebody's accident. And we can see how all these factors play into our experiences, right? So every experience we're having now and now and now is results. And the results of deeds that we're doing with these 4 different factors in some way, shape, or form. Okay? So we can start to kind of unravel why life is the way it is, and then re-ravel what we want it to look like sometime in the future, like a best guess, and then set about how I want to behave now and now and now and now, that will plant the seeds in my mind that will come out as what I have in my mind, or better, right? Probably better. If we say, oh, I want the result to be, you know, a 6'2", blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy with a British accent, and instead what shows up, you know, is a redhead with freckles and not so tall, I'll just go, nah, right? That's not the one. He doesn't look right. And then maybe I missed my angel, you see, because I had my result envisioned too specifically. And Geshe says, you need your what you want specific. And it is true. We need to be clear karmically what we want to create. But then when it shows up, you know, we want to be open to what it might look like, what it might actually appear as in the experience. And it is a delicate thing to set up our behavior by way of what we want to happen and then let go of whether that ever happens or not. Because we used it just to determine how to help somebody else better, which is really what we're trying to do, is develop this ability to choose when we want something, to go help somebody else in some way. Yes, if we match it closely, it feels like we're doing the best job we can, but technically you don't have to match it. You just have to go help somebody. And even still, it's like, okay, I'm only helping them because I want something. And at the first steps, the baby steps, that our usual motivation is, I'm going to go do something for me because I want something. And that flat out doesn't work, but we're fooled into thinking it does. So the first baby step is to say, okay, I want that. I'll go help them because you said so. I'll try it on for size. And we find it's like son of a gun. It was fun trying to help them. It was more fun trying to help them than it was trying to get what I wanted in the first place. And that sets this pattern going to where we aren't so much wanting to help the other in order for me to get a new apartment, but rather I'm helping the other get a new apartment so that I can create my new home, which is going to be Buddha paradise for everybody, right? So, but we have to start somewhere. And the karmic seed planting by choice is where we start. All right, so tonight's class is again one of these classes where we're just getting more information to add to the mix, right? Another pile of jigsaw puzzle pieces we're going to get all in one place. And the subject matter in tonight's class is called the root of virtue, and how it can get cut so that we can avoid doing that. And then the second subject matter is called projecting karma, which we've talked about a little bit before. It's that karma that pops at the end of one life that directs the mind to the next life in that life's realm of being. So let's go to our vocabulary. So in order to understand about cutting our root of virtue, yes, Tom?
Sorry, I forget before you start this subject. How do we know, or is there karmas that we're gonna do now and they're only gonna ripen in the next life? Is there a way of knowing which ones?
Yeah, which ones are gonna ripen in next life versus any lifetime after that? I think that we don't know specifically, oh, this one I'm doing it right now and I'm gonna make it ripen in my next life. I think we get to a place in our practice where you can make seeds in that way. But as a general rule, no, we don't know which ones, right? We don't know which will be the ones that ripen in this life, next life, or any life afterwards. We don't have that specificity yet.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so there are these two phrases, Sunam ki sok and Geshe ki sok. Sunam ki sok means the collection of merit. Geshe ki sok is the collection of wisdom. And in our dedication prayer at the end, these are the two things that we're giving away, right? That we're praying that by the power of the goodness we did, everybody will collect these two collections. The collection of merit refers to all the goodness that we do related to the first four perfections. So we're in Mahayana level practicing. That means we are working with our perfection of giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, joyous effort, meditative concentration, and wisdom, the six perfections of a bodhisattva. And we've learned that the first four, giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, and joyous effort, are the activities that we do under the mind of the inspiration to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. And then those deeds, the seeds created, those deeds become the causes for our form body of our Buddha, our future Buddha, our appearing body. There's two of them, the paradise appearance and the emanating appearance. Those are created by our collection of merit. They are created by the good deeds that we do of giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, and joyous effort. Then the good deeds that we do related to meditative concentration and our wisdom, meaning our understanding, intellectual understanding, all the way up to our direct perception of the no self nature of all existing things, including oneself, right? What emptiness. Wisdom refers to our understanding of emptiness. So the collection of wisdom refers to these goodnesses that we make in relation to perfection 5 and 6, meditative concentration, and our growing wisdom. And these become the causes of our wisdom body of our Buddha, the mental body of our Buddha. It also has two. It has its omniscience and it has its emptiness. The omniscience is perceiving emptiness directly and appearing reality directly of all existing things in all three times. And the emptiness is the emptiness of that, the no self nature of that, and the no self nature of the appearances that that mind is aware of. They are samsaric intellects, blow fuses when we try to work that out, because our language won't let us actually get it right. So if you feel like every time you're trying to work out these four bodies of a Buddha thing and we just can't quite get it, be proud of yourself. You're trying enough to blow a few fuses, and that's a good thing. Yeah, you just plug them back in and they work again. So collection of merit, collection of wisdom. These don't mean simply, be all the times I've been kind. And they don't mean all the times I've, read a little bit about emptiness. These are specific deeds that we do with a mind motivated. I'm practicing my 6 perfections in order to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. That state of mind is is the factor that makes a good deed into a collection of merit, and that makes our thinking about emptiness into a collection of wisdom. It took Buddha Shakyamuni 3 times 10 to the 60th countless eons, which is number of years beyond count, in order to complete the 2 collections. Once that being had got their bodhicitta, well, I'm going to become a Buddha for the sake of all beings. Then it started, right? The clock started ticking. We'll learn how long a countless eon is in some future course. Why do there need to be 2 collections to make us into a Buddha? Because your Buddha you needs to have an appearance and it needs to have a mind. And those are different things. They require different causes. The collection of merit makes our Rupakaya, our form body. We learned this some previous class. I think it was course 2. And the collection of wisdom creates or becomes our Dharmakaya, our mental body, our aware being of Buddha. So these 6 perfections then are the activities that create the goodness that will create what we look like as a Buddha and what we think like as a Buddha. And it takes a big accumulation of both of them to create this paradise body and emanations being and omniscient mind. Well, the emptiness of it is there already, but as a the emptiness of the mind is there already, but the emptiness of our Buddhahood is not there until we reach it. So it takes a lot of accumulation. Once we start doing our good deeds of the first 4 perfections under this mind that wants to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, we are collecting a collection of merit. And that collection is growing. And until it brings about its result, we are in danger of damaging it. So this collection of merit and collection of wisdom, not so much, but collection of merit, it's called our root of virtue. So some people use the term root of virtue to just mean your accumulation of all the kindnesses that you've ever done. And that is true, right? We all have kindnesses that we've done. The seeds are in there. They create all the goodness that we experience even as it wears out. But for it to be called the root of virtue, what they're talking about is collection of merit, right? Good deeds done related to the first 4 perfections under the influence of a mind that wants to reach total Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. So those seeds are especially precious, aren't they? Because they are different than just any old kindness. So Getsa means this root of virtue. And Chupa means to cut it. It is possible to have this growing bank account of root of virtue and still do something, heaven forbid, but do something that cuts it. And the scripture apparently says, like, cuts, obliterates that root of virtue. And the reason we're talking about such a nasty subject is that we want to know how to avoid doing that. If we've managed to have any collection of merit, we want to protect it, right? Like the most precious tiny baby. So we want to know what would break it, what would cut it. You know, what would I have to be like in order to cut it? And then if I do cut it, am I just lost, or, you know, what could happen? So again, be clear, to cut a root of virtue does not mean you've cut all the kindnesses you've ever done. Right? It doesn't mean that if you do the deed that cuts your root of virtue, all of a sudden it's like no nice thing will ever happen to you again. It's not that. It's we're cutting those growing accumulation of seeds that would have taken us to Buddhahood. We're starting over, needing to start over, which is probably more anyway. So apparently in the sutra, where Buddha is talking about this subject, the word in the Sanskrit, I don't know what it was, but the word in the Sanskrit that became the Tibetan is that the root of virtue is obliterated, which sounds in English like, you know, it's just completely destroyed, gone, done. But we're going to see by the end of class that what's getting obliterated is really our connection, our connection to that root of virtue, in the sense that it growing and us being able to add to it. Like when we do our cut of virtue, it's like it freezes the bank account, and it's not going to grow any interest, and you can't add to it and you can't take from it. It's just like it's just unavailable completely. So although the term is obliterate, it's more like our access to it is obliterated somehow, but not like we had voluntary access to it anyway. So Getsa Chupa means to cut this root of virtue. And who is it that could do such a thing, and what would we do that would make this happen so that we can avoid it? So there are these two things. Lokta and Kongtro are the two deeds that we might do that would sever our access to our collection of merit. This information comes from Abhidharma. And we'll see how Madhyamika adjusts it a little bit. So Lokta, the ta in Lokta means view. And Lok means diametrically opposed. So Lokta means opposite view, completely opposite view. Geshe Michael said, you know, pardon my speech, but it means to see something ass backwards. You know, you just have it completely wrong. And what they mean by this specifically is the Lokta state of mind focuses on something which exists, and it holds that it does not exist. And that's odd, isn't it? Because isn't that highest worldview? To look at something that we think exists and say, that doesn't exist like that. But then highest worldview off the cliff of wrong view is, well, then it doesn't exist like that at all. And that would be wrong view, but not diametrically opposed. So it's just, it's one of those things, if you think about it a little bit, it's like, wait a minute, what? So here Lokta is diametrically opposed in the sense of two very specific viewpoints. For Lokta to be the thing that cuts our root of virtue. One of those is that we would be focusing on our understanding of karma and doing this analysis and coming to a very clear conclusion: karma cannot exist. Right? It's coming to the wrong conclusion that we had previously come to the right conclusion. Right? We believed in karma. For this to be a cut your root of virtue, we had believed in karma. And we had believed in karma and reaching Buddhahood enough that we were actually working with our 6 perfections and growing our store of merit. And then something happens. And we revisit this belief in karma. And we apply the logic. And we clearly identify a logical sequence that says, no, karma cannot be true. We think, oh man, that could never happen to me. But the interesting thing is that we could very well be strong practitioners. And in the process of our practice, we get challenged by crap ripening, and really rotten things happening. Maybe one really big rotten thing, or maybe a whole series of rotten things that the state of mind that's experiencing all this bad karma coming up. Bad karmas were made with really strong ignorance, really strong mental afflictions. They're going to be inside those karmic seeds ripening. Right? We could find ourselves in a ripening situation where our ability to think through karma and emptiness is just gone. And then our thinking through it will bring us to that conclusion. There's just no way I can have been so kind and this bad stuff can be happening to me. Even though we know, no, it was from before, right? Now we know that. But when we're in the midst of a really, really terrible circumstance or a string of them, our ability, like we don't have the same quality of thinking when we're there. We think the quality of thinking that we have, and it will always be this or something better. And that's not true. We could lose it. And one of the hardest times, apparently, to really keep our clear understanding of karma and emptiness is when we're in deep grief. In deep grief, we usually think, oh, it's from the loss of a loved one. But we'll grieve, when a loved one just gets disabled, right? They're not dead, but they aren't ever going to be the way they were before. We go into grief, right? We could lose a job, we could lose a home, we could, be part of some big disaster and get into a grief cycle that makes it such that we just can't think clearly anymore. Clearly enough to recognize the wrong conclusion of, oh, karma doesn't exist. Because that's specifically what this Lokta is talking about. Karma doesn't exist. And Buddhahood doesn't exist. Not just, oh, I don't think I can ever get there. That's not Lokta. It's like something we believed was true, had proven to ourselves was true enough to have been working towards it. And then circumstances change. And now our logic says that was stupid. Like, why did I ever believe that? That was just wrong. Do you see how it's diametrically opposed to what we had when we were making our collection of merit? So you can see how it's just going to cut that off. Because we just, right, it's not in our possible experience anymore to want to do good deeds in order to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, because my deeds and what I get are not related. Right? And we think, man, no way that could happen to somebody who's already on the path. But apparently it does. So what qualities where is it? I don't know, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Geshe said, it's the wrong conclusion to hear this and say, oh, then I will never doubt. I will never doubt a teaching because I don't want to come anywhere close to coming up to the wrong conclusion. And we've already learned that Buddha said, doubt my teachings, right? Think about them, chew on them, prove them to yourself. Don't just accept them because I said so. So that means we have these minds that are able to clear think and to work through the solution. In order for Lokta to break our collection of merit, we would need to apply a clear thinking, rational process of thinking to come to a ass backwards conclusion. So we're not just talking about when I'm in deep grief and I can't think and I reject emptiness. It's like, because of this grief, my seeds are ripening, me not able to believe anymore. And I clearly think out why it is true that karma can't be true and come to this wrong conclusion. Geshe says, when we have doubts about a teaching, even this one, we want to put it on the shelf for later. Well, this one I just can't quite understand. I don't seem to have enough information to work it out myself. I don't have access to the scriptures, so I'm not going to flat out reject it, although I want to. I'm going to put it on the shelf and wait until more information comes, and I'll come back to it later. The reason he says to do that is because we don't want the seeds to flat out reject anything. Because flat out rejecting anything seeds have the potential to ripen into us flat out rejecting something that we've learned before, or that we hear new about something we've learned before. So I don't know, it is kind of a thing that we do. We hear something and then go, nah, right? And then maybe listen to it and revisit it. It seems to be a human habit to reject first and then revisit. And this teaching says, catch yourself doing that and be open. It doesn't mean you believe everything. It doesn't mean, right, not check it out, but see where we're rejecting and protect ourselves from Lokta by setting it on the shelf, right? Yeah, maybe, right? Somebody, you're in a conversation with somebody and they say something and it's like, you want to go, rant. Yeah, maybe, but put it on the shelf in order to protect our own minds. Somewhere here's a list about who can do that. No, it'll come. The second thing that we might do that could cut our root of virtue, meaning our collection of merit, is this kontro. Kontro means anger. This lokta comes from the Abhidharma. Abhidharma's explanation of cutting the root of virtue happens by way of lokta. Madhyamaka says, yeah, that'll do it. But so well this kontro, anger. But not just any old anger, thank goodness. This specific designation of the kind of anger that will break our root of virtue comes to us from Master Chandrakirti in his works on the 6 perfections as they relate to the bodhisattva bhumis, the bodhisattva levels. Once we see emptiness directly under the influence of bodhicitta, we come out on bodhisattva level 1, where our task is to perfect the perfection of giving, to use the wisdom in our mind to share, to grow this willingness to share anything and everything. And then as that becomes realized through some meditative experience, we move to bodhisattva bhumi 2, in which we now do our giving and focus on our practice of moral discipline, avoiding those 10, right? So we work our way up through the 6 perfections, and the realizations of them take us to the bodhisattva bhumis. So within that, 3rd bodhisattva bhumi is the perfection of not getting angry. And this is where the kontro comes in. So as we're growing our perfection of not getting angry, we start out in a situation that makes us angry. We get angry, and old me just blasts forth whatever my reaction to anger is at the moment. I'll just do it, believing that that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what will get me a good result. That's what will get the whatever I'm angry at to stop. As I grow my practice, I am able to apply my mindfulness faster and faster to recognizing that feeling of anger is just a feeling. It's not really coming from what's happening right now. I don't have to react to it in the same old way. I still feel angry. I just choose a different action. Maybe the actions just be like a bump on a log. Don't do anything until it passes. Maybe I can do something kind instead. As I work with the situations that piss me off, and I don't react in the same old way, the actual getting angry in a similar situation will diminish. It takes time for that to happen. We've perfected the perfection of not getting angry. They're started to perfect it. When a situation that ordinarily would have pushed your buttons, you can be in and the button doesn't get pushed, right? It's the perfection of not getting angry is not to be angry and not blow up. Like, it's to stop getting angry altogether. And then it's not just angry, it's any kind of unpleasantness. When we're in a situation of unpleasantness, we try to avoid it and we do something to get out of it. And the perfection of not getting angry goes all the way to the ability to use unpleasant circumstances as an opportunity to grow my collection of merit. Do you see? So when we get there, it's not about avoiding unpleasant and finding pleasant. It's about the joyous effort of applying our planting ability regardless of the circumstance. right? And that's how you move up to the joyous effort practice. So lokta, this anger, that can happen, that will cut our access to our root of virtue, is anger towards a bodhisattva. And we see it in Master Shanti Deva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. He says a single moment of anger directed towards a bodhisattva cuts your root of virtue. And it's like, oh man. And then it says, and do you know, can you tell who is and who isn't a bodhisattva? And it's like, holy moly, right? That means any moment of anger towards anybody. Samatha even says, even towards myself, right? Seeing himself as a bodhisattva, cuts my root of virtue. I am just stuck. But then in the fine print of the scriptures, it says technically the anger that cuts our root of virtue is a bodhisattva having anger towards another bodhisattva. And now we can see how powerfully awful that would be, because the bodhisattva would have to be like in a way out of control state of situation that's overridden their bodhisattvahood state of mind, such that they could have and sustain anger towards another one that they knew as a bodhisattva. So in a sense, it's like, oh, phew, right? So my anger won't be the kind of anger that will break my root of virtue. But on the other hand, we do know how dangerous moments of anger can be. You know, one big blow up at a really close friend, and that your relationship with that friend is forever damaged. It doesn't matter how much you apologize, right? There's just a little bit of mistrust there. Is she going to blow up at me again? Yeah, from our own side too, when somebody gets angry. So to say, oh, it's just one bodhisattva to another, and I'm not even a bodhisattva yet, so I don't have anything to worry about. It's like, don't go there. Rather, feel like, okay, I see the power of working with situations of unpleasantness and the mindfulness of being aware of the feeling arising before it turns into full-blown anger, so that I can cut it off at the pass with a different choice of behavior, so that we can prevent having the seeds for some future time when we do have a collection of merit and we get angry at a bodhisattva and, right, blast at them and damage that merit, that collection of merit. Okay. So Abhidharma says there is a profile of a person who's likely to get lokta, this wrong view. They must be a human, male or female, meaning other realm beings cannot actually sustain a philosophical thought to come to a wrong conclusion. They technically can't sustain the thought to come to the right conclusion, although maybe they had it. Well, no, because they're such suffering beings. They're either suffering too much or they're too pleasured out. Only humans are in the position where some can have this ability to think it through clearly. The scripture says a human who is a eunuch can't get lokta because they also cannot think clearly through to sustain a conclusion, right or wrong. I don't know. eunuch means that their sexual hormone maker has been removed. And it would be different if you had those removed before you reached puberty or after you reached puberty. And I'm not sure which ones they're talking about here, but according to scripture, if we don't have adequate sexual hormones, we can't think clearly enough to come to a clear wrong conclusion, right? On the shelf. But fortunately, in our society, we don't make eunuchs out of people intentionally. So hopefully you aren't one of those. Abhidharma says, and amongst human beings, there are those who are the intellectual types, and there are those who are the sensual types. And those who are of the sensual types, their actions and reactions are based on how things feel, right? Pleasure, displeasure, avoid, get, right? They're not driven by logic so much as by, right, action, reaction. And technically, those kind of people also will act from heartfelt, not clearly calculated, figuring out that karma doesn't work. So it's one thing to, out of this heart feeling, karma can't be. That's not strong enough to be looked on. It means a human who's got the intellectual capacity to first learn and show karma is true, Buddhahood is true. And then something happens and they do a similar process and come to the opposite conclusion. That's what can cut. So, in a sense, that's us, right? We're studying ACI, right? We are the intellectual types. It's like built for that. And so again, when we get in situations where our emotions are taking over, which is when we're in the position of terrible grief, terrible, right, survival mode, we're not thinking things through, we're acting and reacting, right? From our animal brain. It's designed to protect us. It is not designed to figure out whether karma is true or not, which is how we can see anyway. Okay, so this intellectual conclusion that karma is not true and Buddhahood is not true needs to be sustained, a sustained rejection for it to break our lokta. So, or for it to break our store of goodness, for it to be the getsa chupa, which is funny. It's like, well, at what point does the cut actually happen? Is it at the first moment of, oh no, karma's not right? Or is it 10 days later? Or 2 weeks later? Or 6 months later? And the vagueness of this actually is what allows us to see that cutting our root of virtue, although it sounds really permanent, it is not permanent. That we can, in fact, reactivate the bank account and get access to it again. How might that happen? That if we've cut our root of virtue, I went right through our break time, didn't I? That's why I have all these stairs. Let's stop and take a break. Sorry, 10 minutes over. Okay, I'm pausing the recording. Pause. Pause. Well, we decided at the beginning of class that we would have class this Thursday. My original schedule said not, but we're going to anyway. I hope that will suit your schedule as well. My Thursday, your Friday, right? Okay.
Dear Sarahni, I have
Yes.
a question.
Okay.
Um, so can we can, can we play with the karma, have a karma management? Like we don't know when we might lose the virtue that we are accumulating, or when we will have a grief or something. It is possible that when we meditate, we scan our day feelings, like, and we can like start designing. Not, of course, we cannot decide when the karma will arrive, but we might start preparing our mind or choosing our behavior, meditating before the ripening happens.
Yes, as in, I'm gonna have a meeting today. And in that meeting, I anticipate that somebody will say something that will make me feel disrespected. And so in my meditation, I'm going to pretend that's happening right now. And I'm going to feel the feeling. And I'm going to instead respond like this. And maybe you replay the video a couple of times in your meditation. End it with the conclusion. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I understand the emptiness of the them and the emptiness of the me and the emptiness of them pushing my button in this way. And so this can be the perfect opportunity to burn that off and plant new. And then dedicate, right, your meditation to doing that. And then when you get into that meeting, you're paying attention, you're waiting for it to happen. And if it does happen, you're ready. And if it doesn't happen, great.
It's like it's like modifying the death meditation to any kind of behavior or possibility of karma ripening, but not going crazy, just like reviewing your 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 day, like preparing your mental state to just
Yes. Yes.
not blow out your
Yes. It can be
goodness.
very helpful. When it doesn't work, right? You get in this situation, the button gets pushed and blah, right? The tendency is going to be, oh, this doesn't work. I'm a bad meditator, etc. And just like, yeah, no, okay. It just takes time, right, for these seeds to build up.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking that maybe there is a reason why, well, of course there's a reason, but why we meditate on the specific topic of the classes. So we are starting to have analytical thinking 24/7. Like, just, okay. Thank you.
Right.
And the other question is just super random, but I was thinking, what is the karma to live in a world that dinosaurs doesn't exist? Like if karma was in the eras of dinosaurs, or uh like we have a karma to maybe reborn in a lower realm, like a dog or a cat.
Yeah.
And Jan was asking if we can have a dinosaur pet. And I was just like, I don't know about that anyway. It's just like I was just
Right.
thinking about the eras of
To
the
be giant,
karma,
right?
like when the karma of this era, my
Tom
era.
says- Yeah, Tom says in Florida, they're everywhere. Those crocodiles, right? And we have
That's
them,
true.
roadrunners.
Yeah.
Those are as dinosaurs as you can get.
Yeah.
All right. I will restart, resume, resume, share. Okay. How do we restore ours? Can we restore our cut root of virtue? It seems like if they were really obliterated, we would have to start over. But apparently, they say, no, you don't actually have to start over. You can restore your access to that collection of merit. And so, how do we do that? Right? We would want to know how to do that. So at least we have the seeds in there. If we ever do get in that wrong view, we maybe would have the seeds for getting right view back again. So again, this is from Abhidharma. It teaches that there are two ways we reconnect to those virtues. One is by growing or having this thing called tetsam. Here it is down here, tetsam. And the second is nyepa, reaching nyepa. So tetsam is the word for doubt. There's good doubt and there's bad doubt. It's bad doubt that led to the lokta in the first place. And that bad doubt came about because we were in such a bad place, such an unpleasant series of ripenings, that we started to doubt what we thought we knew about karma. And then that grew into the full-on reconsideration and conclusion that, nah, that was all garbage. I fell for something stupid and I'm not doing it again. That, right? Kung, your access to your collection of merit is now behind locked doors, unable to access it, can't add to it, can't take away from it, nothing. Until some state of mind arises where, wait a minute, maybe that conclusion wasn't so right. That's Tetsam about my Lokta. Do you see? Lokta came to the wrong conclusion. Tetsam is, well, maybe I was wrong about that. Geshe says the story might be you meet the Dharma as a young person and you apply your logic, you come to the conclusion that it's true, you come to the conclusion Buddhahood is possible and it's something you want. And so you work really hard at being good, being good, being good, being good. And then life just, slams you, slams you, slams you, slams you. And you start to have some doubt. And then your doubt grows bigger. And your clear-minded ability to think it through comes to the wrong conclusion and you reject it. Life goes on, who knows? You reach older age and maybe sometime in that older age, you get to thinking, all the crap just kept happening. And I kept reacting to it in the same old way, and it just kept happening. And, maybe that karma stuff, maybe it was true, right? To have doubt about my wrong view. It's not yet correct view, but it's just enough doubt in what I was holding to be correct view that was really asked backwards from the view I had before. That's enough to start us back to the ability of adding to our collection of merit. It's not enough yet to be adding to the collection of merit. We would have to go on to apply our logic to, oh, no, karma is the explanation for why things happen the way they do. Karma and emptiness, is the ticket. We would have to come to that clear conclusion, and the wanting to reach Buddhahood, we would need to grow our bodhicitta back again before we were starting to add to our collection of merit again by trying to practice the 6 perfections, or the 4 of the 6. But the tetsam is this little bit of doubt in our view that restores our access to that merit. All right, so we can add to it, bless you. Just doubt in the wrong view. Geshe says that's why the habit of a healthy skepticism is a good thing. Because if we have this healthy skepticism, even when we decide we come to some conclusion, we'll have some skepticism even about our conclusion. But then that means we're going to have skepticism about our conclusion about emptiness as well. And that might be a good thing, because if we think we understand emptiness intellectually accurately, we're mistaken. Our intellectual understanding of emptiness is not accurate to what the direct perception will show us. So maybe a healthy skepticism about my knowledge about emptiness is a good thing, but not about karma and emptiness as an explanation for why we experience things in the way that we do. I hope that came across. So secondly, nyepa is to positively identify something. It's the term for certainty. Certainty. So tetsam is simply doubt. Doubt in my lukta. Maybe I was wrong about that. Gives us, we can start adding to our merit again. Nyepa is certainty that our wrong view was wrong, that our view was wrong. We come to some clear certainty that, oh my gosh, all those years I quit believing in karma and Buddhahood. Oh man, big mistake. I know it for certain now. Yeah. Restores our access to our collection of merit and would put us back to maybe where we were before, even in terms of our bodhicitta. If we had some certain experience of certainty, like where we left off when we got our doubt that led to our lokta, we would like pick up there and start again, is what this implies. That kind of certainty. And then I think caught on the heels of that certainty would be a huge amount of regret. Like, oh man, all those years, right? If that scenario was many years before our doubt in our view showed up. Okay. All right, that's what we need to know about cutting our root of virtue so we don't do it. Please don't do it. If you're getting close, call me. So now, second subject, right? That subject's done, that little pile of puzzle pieces, or let's build another pile. Penjekile and Zokjekile. Is this topic called the projecting karma? Penje means to project something, but as in like throwing a dart, right? You're playing darts, the dartboard's on the wall. It really is that idea. Like you're throwing something at the target. Penje. Penje kile means the karma that throws something. So here it's the specific term to the karma that throws us into the next rebirth. And we've heard a little bit, I think, about through the ordinary death process, there'll be that final moment of the end of this life, and then there'll be a moment that comes after that where the mind is still moving, not your personality you, not your intellect you, but the awareness. There'll be a last moment of this life and a first moment of what comes next, which is called bardo, the in-between. And in that instant, one karmic seed pops, just like 65 are going off. We're talking about the one seed in that one moment at the end of this life that throws us into the next moment. That's called the projecting karma. Penjekile. That karma is what determines helping, hungry ghost, animal, human, jealous God, pleasure being, form realm, whatever level of the form realm, formless realm. So it has to be a seed we already have. And by the time we get to that place, we aren't in any way able to decide which seed's going to go. Geshe calls it's like a lottery system. You know, in the old days, the lottery system was this jar full of ping pong balls that had different numbers, and the blower is blowing, so they're popping all around inside, and there's a little hole in the top, and that blows all the balls, and all of a sudden one pops up, and that's the winner. So it's similar in that way. And the factor that would direct which ball comes out the hole would really be based on how many similar ping pong balls are in there. So if you've got 1,000 ping pong balls and 999 of them are seeds from a mind of stinginess, the likelihood of popping a seed of stinginess that would push us into a hungry ghost realm is a whole lot higher than that one ball that was patience. Right? I'm being absurd because it's not like that at all. We have many of all of them. But in the lifetime that's ending, whatever habits we had was making more seeds than behaviors that we did that were unusual or rare or occasional. And so the things that have more seeds are more likely to be one that ripens at the moment of death. Highest school says, look what's on your mind at the moment of death is what is the seed that's going to project us. But we're not talking about an intellectually aware what's on my mind at the moment of death. We're way beyond that. And so what would be on the mind at the moment of death would be the things that were habitually on the mind during life. So, if you've got this mind that's constantly, I want, there's going to be a I want seed very likely going off at the end of death. And so regardless, it's the seed that ripens at that moment that is this panjekile that colors what our next life's going to be. But it's only one seed, says Abhidharma. And it's like one seed goes off and is done. How come we don't just disappear? And they say, well, it's more like a time capsule seed. It's the one seed that goes off and it keeps going off until you run out of that next life. And then it ends. And highest school says, come on, right? That can't be. But one seed does direct us, but that one seed is not likely some random event. It's got zillions of similar seeds those are the ones that are going off after that carry us through that entire lifetime. Similar seeds, similar hell realm being seeds going off that keeps us as a hell realm being. When they stop going off, our hell realm life ends. Just like when this lifetime seeds stop going off, this lifetime ends. So there is one seed that sends it, but then all the rest of these are called the dzogchekile, which are the filling in the details seeds. So your one seed sends you to hungry ghost realm, and then all these others make you into the hungry ghost with the experience that you're having. The scriptures say the Panjekile is like the master painter, and he sketches the outline and says, green here, blue there, etc. But then it's all the apprentices that come in and they paint the picture. The apprentices are the dzogchekile. So, projecting karma can be either good or bad, meaning it can be for what's called a higher birth, or it can be for a lower birth. So not meaning higher than where you are, although it could mean that. But humans, jealous gods, and pleasure beings are considered higher birth. Animal, hungry ghost, and hell realms are considered lower birth within the desire realm. So your projecting karma can be either for a lower, which is a bad projecting, or for a higher, human or higher, which would be a good projecting. And then you can have the finishing karma. Geshe calls dzogchekile finishing karma. They can be good or bad as well. So it gives us these 4 permutations. Remember musum, complicated thing. It gives us 4 permutations that could happen at the last moment of this life, pushing us into the next moment of the next life. And your homework asks, what are the 4 permutations, and give examples. So one could have a good projecting karma, but bad finishing karma. That would be one combination. One could have bad projecting karma, but good finishing karma. Second possibility. One could have good projecting karma and good finishing karma. And one could have bad projecting karma and bad finishing karma, right? That's the 4. So what might be examples of a good projecting, bad finishing. Anybody care to guess? Some being has died, and their projecting karma is a good karma. What's it gonna, might it give them?
Like human being?
Like a human realm. Good projecting karma would be human next life. But with bad finishing karma, bad details, what would that be like?
Like maybe not very healthy or with
Exactly. Right. Disabilities, the human that's in this situation of constant survival mode, right? Somebody really, really poor, living in a place of war, right? Good. So how about bad projecting, good finishing? What might be bad projecting karma?
My cat.
Your cat, Flavia's cat, poor cat, bad projecting, but good finishing. Flavia's cat, right? Because she belongs to Flavia instead of being a street cat that all the dogs are after. The scripture says bad projecting, good finishing example is you get projected into the hell realm, but your good finishing karma is you're the lord of the hell realms. You're the head honcho of the hell realms. Somehow that's not as bad. Bad projecting, good finishing. How about good projecting, good finishing? Human in the Dharma, right? Human who reaches their enlightenment in that lifetime. That'd be good. And what about bad projecting, bad finishing? Scripture says a hell being in the lowest hell. Something more like immediate would be a cow that, like the cattle in our desert, right? They're cow, and they're gonna get butchered. They live in this dry, awful, horrible desert. They eke out a living, and then they get slaughtered, and somebody eats them. Bad projecting, bad finishing. Not an instant of relief, except maybe during the rainstorm. They get cooled off a little bit. So we all have seeds for all of this. And I hope what we would be thinking is, how can I increase my likelihood of getting good projecting and good finishing, so that at any moment, if my life ends, I can know I'm sitting pretty. And it's like, I know I've got lots of rotten seeds. What do I need? What can I do about those? And now I understand a bit about choosing my behaviors and trying to plant seeds that any one of which could throw me to a good projecting karma. Like it's like it grows our sense of how do I want to manipulate my behavior such that I can increase the power of, or the likelihood of, getting another human rebirth. Because it's not technically even a good projecting karma to get jealous God or pleasure being, although technically they're called a good projecting because it's a higher birth, but it's not a birth for someone who's on their path. It's not a birth we want. So we want to be designing life such that we're increasing our odds for getting another human life, right? And then not just another human life, but another human life in the Dharma, or at least with the leisure and fortune to be able to find the Dharma, versus a human with bad finishing karma. We can set about to increase the likelihood, right, of that happening by cleaning out the negative seeds that we already have, cleaning out negative seeds that we put in day by day, adding to the goodness seeds that we already have, putting in new goodness seeds to the best of our ability. And then it becomes our system, our way of life. There's something else I was going to say about that. Escapes me. So that completes our class 8. Oh, again, I've got a few extra minutes, so I'm happy to take questions, or I'm also happy to say we can finish class early and I will keep those minutes for later. There's another class where I'm using them.
Question.
Yes.
You said that if we feel that we are like we are about to start doubting or lose uh, the purpose, we should call you. If we will become in many years, probably future lives, teachers, if someone called us, how we can guide them to not go to that extreme, or if we are seeing someone that is starting to see that to go through that path, how we can help them, even if it's not directly our karma. If we are seeing someone going to that route, we have a karma there.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't know. But what would happen, right, in my experience, what would happen is that I would have that person be describing to me their situation, and I would be listening for not so much the words they're saying, but what they're meaning. Listening to the words they choose to give me clues about the deeper issue than the surface story that they're telling me. And I would try to like guide their thinking to recognizing this deeper issue that's happening, so that they could take this surface pain and go a little bit underneath. And my experience has been that when someone who's in such a state of agitation gets deeply heard, it calms everything down. And so I would anticipate that if the surface situation is making this doubt happening and they're going around in the circle, if I can get them to spill it and go a little bit deeper, it would be able to mellow the surface out and bring them back to, oh, yes, right, their correct view. Again, if it's someone who never had the insight into karma and emptiness, I think it would still work to bring them into a different state of mind, but mostly for a practitioner who's feeling like they're losing it. I think that that would be the method I would use to see if I could get them tethered again in their correct view. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a other question
Okay.
about to restore the goodness. If we lose the goodness that you describe, how we can restore it. We restore the goodness that we have in this life, or the goodness that we have accumulated in all our past lives.
Well, we're talking about the root of virtue, which means specifically the good deeds we did related to giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, joyous effort under a state of mind that wants to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Right. So a moment of anger at a bodhisattva does not destroy all the kindnesses we've ever done, just our access to our collection of merit. And then that would be the collection of merit from all time, right? Assuming this is your 3000th lifetime as a bodhisattva, growing your collection of merit, right? If this was our first lifetime, then of growing our collection of merit, then it's only this lifetime collection that we cut. But probably it's not. Probably we have picked it up from before and carried on. Yeah. So actually it just pops into my mind. It would be a rejoiceable then to say, you know, I must have already had some amount of collection of merit that when I heard about a bodhisattva ideal, my heart jumped, you know, I wanted to be a part of it. That those have to be seeds from some previous life. So I must have not cut my root of virtue ever before. Or at least if I did, I got it back. Yay! Right? Yay! I must have been a bodhisattva before, at least a baby one. Yay! Right? Truly. It sounds so silly, but right, our habit is to, yeah, I believe in past and future lives, but deep down, you know, this is the one I've got to deal with. And it's almost over. Come on, right? I'm in my 3rd trimester here. And right, I have that tendency. And then I don't have this relationship with my being that has been since forever and will go on forever. I mean, not so much, a little bit I do, but expand that. In order to be here studying these things in this way, you've had many lifetimes in the Dharma. Now that means we didn't quite get all the way in that lifetime. Okay, don't beat yourself up for that one. Rejoice in the fact that we were there and all the kindnesses we've done as a result that are contributing to what we have now. And so we want to perpetuate them. And so we want to share them. Okay. Nice. Anything else while we're at it? Okay. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help? We've learned more that we will use sooner or later to help them stop their suffering forever. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you, even to carry you on the hard days. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with wisdom, filled with loving kindness, shining it forth to everyone in their world. And may it be so. Okay, so I want to say again that we will have class on Thursday evening, even though it's 4th of July. And so that'll be class 9, 10 will be Sunday, 11 will be the following Thursday. That is the review class where you will teach me. Okay. And then we'll be done until September. We'll start up again September 5th, I think, is the Monday. And depending on how much time we have before the Diamond Mountain October program will determine whether we do course 6 or we do a practice module. I haven't looked at the date specifically, but it'll be something. Okay. All righty. I'm ending the recording. Thank you so much for the opportunity.